Hello everyone, this is how to get your graphics card getting the best out of it that you possibly can, and at the same time make it last longer. So first tool we're going to need is MSI Afterburner. I've already done a short video on this, download Afterburner. That's simple for that one. The next one we're going to need is COM Bus Tour MSI. Now this comes up with a few different things, so you click that, click download, 64-bit I'm after, depending what your thing is, usually be 64-bit. Make sure you click download 64-bit one. Down here is the blue download button, and that'd start it. I don't need to, already got it. So close that for a second. That has this. Now MSI Combustor has a shortcut here with that, the K, which also loads that, which is quite tedious. But these are my settings I already have on there. Okay, so I'll reset it all. That's everything. That's where it should start off at. So the first thing you're going to do, go to here, start with Windows, apply. Fan settings, enable user defined. This will be on a different curvature. Just put it to a straight line going up. I say a straight line diagonal. But yeah, then apply. Just like that. And close. Now, fans, we want power limit up, which I've already explained in the last video, but as we do that, the temp limit goes up. Click the chain and break it. Put your temp limit down. You want it running, I mean anything under 80 is acceptable. I think anything over 80 is too much, but I'll keep mine at 70. So 70, just to keep my graphics card lasting as long as possible. And every time we do something, we click the tick. Make sure it's going to work better. Now, if I run Combustor, you'll see my temperature will not rise above 70 down here. I will try and shrink this screen a little just so we can see all of the screens at the same time. We don't need this one, that's just to launch this. And this in the top corners, no worries. As you can see, I do apologise for that. We have, and it'll get up to 69, then it'll go 70, 69, 70, 69, 70. There we go, 70, 69. The fans are now up to 89%. They're giving it some actual power and giving it some actual work. Now this might make your machine a little bit louder because your fans are working a bit harder than they were before. But again, it's worth it to keep your graphics card lasting longer, because the most costly bit of any PC is going to be your CPU and your graphics card. So pretty much they're the two you want to keep cool, and this is all for keeping them cool. Now I've done a video about that specifically before, so I'll put some notes in the bottom of times etc to make it so you know where to stop if you don't want to overclock. Okay, but we run this for 2 minutes till time says 2 minutes, and then we close, just because it means it's going to run. So I'll wait for the 2 minutes just to be certain for you, but as you see, temperature isn't going over 70 now at all. That means my graphics card is keeping a perfect temperature. CPU 71, it popped to then. It should really be keeping cooler, but I'm not too fussed about 71. It's still doing its job, you know. 70, I've put 71's not the worst. And 2 minutes. Now we close, and you'll watch the temperatures drop again. On this, fan speed can cool down a little. Fan speed will slow down as it cools. Right, so next, now if we wanted to overclock, so what we'd do is we go up in 50s, we click the tick, we run the stress test. Now I've done mine before, so I know what my, we'll say maximums are, so I'll just click 1, tick. If you want to save something, click the save button. Save as a profile, save that as 5 this time. That's the 5 profile. or the one profile. They're both exactly the same. Let's say now we want, always click the tick after whatever you do, just to show you what happens if you do put it too high. So I'm going to put my core clock up by another 50. I know it's going to break the, how do I say it, it's going to close the program. Nothing breaks, there's no problems, it's a stress test, it tests it so you won't get any problems. If you ran it at that speed, you'd have a problem. But you see, you're only testing it, it will close it, it'll tell you straight away there's a problem. So 170, I'll click the tick, and now run a stress test. And this will close almost instantly, and so will the recording. As you see, it closed MSR Combustor and it closed the recording. So we'll revert back to 1, because that's my settings, what I already know because I tested. But once you hit it and it closes MSR Combustor, go back to the previous setting that you had. So say I found 116 and just add a few at a time, 5, 10 if you really want to push it to its maximum. I didn't, I made it so I was quite happy here and I kept it. You know, I wanted it for longevity rather than to overclock it, but I still wanted to push a little extra performance out of it because I knew I could. So now, as I say, we've clicked the tick. This is the settings that we've got. MSR Combustor. Oh gosh, that is so tedious. And we run the stress test. And this, again, will run for 2 minutes just to let you see. Temperature should not go above 70 and be the same again. But as you see now, we're pushing a few extra frames per second because of the extra little bits here. There is probably other videos out there, but hopefully this explains it quicker than any other, and it is purely just to get the longevity of your graphics card and your CPU rather than to do anything else. The one we're looking at is our GPU, because more than anything, this is the costly part of your PC. Your graphics card is the one thing you want to last as long as possible, and as you see, 6970. Before, mine would run up to 90 Celsius and it would throttle my whole PC, so the performance on games like Arima, if I got more than 2 people in a place together, gosh, the lag, the frame rate drop was absolutely unbearable. So this has really helped my PC out a load. You can see some of the videos that I've done myself on a frame there on my profile, and you still get a few frame rate drops here and there. I mean, my computer's not the best. It's quite an old graphics card, a 1080 Ti. Good graphics card, but old. But again, this is just to keep it so it's lasting as long as I possibly can. Yes, in the middle of a video here. And we'll run that 20 more seconds and you'll see that it works perfectly. As I say, if there's any problem with this, it's a stress test. It's testing it rather than using the settings. So you won't use the settings. So basically it will just close this program, MSR Combustor, and this in the background, and that's it. You won't have any problems with your PC testing this or doing this. Sometimes it'll throw you to a black screen in the back, but then it'll reload up your PC. That's it, simple, once it's closed MSR Combustor. That is my optimal settings that I'm happy with, and this is specifically for the 1080 Ti. You will have to find your own settings for your own graphics card and your own PC. Each one is different, but once you've found it and you're perfect, you're happy with that, make sure you save it as a profile, and always click the tick after, otherwise those settings will not be enabled. Now let's go over it again. Start with Windows, you always want on, and you want to make sure you apply it. Fan, enable user defined automatic fan controls, put up to a straight curve, diagonal, whichever, apply, okay. Now, fan, we put the power limit up, break the chain, bring our temp limit down. Clock, the core clock, put up in 50s, 20s, whichever you feel comfortable with. It's quite tedious, it's 2 minutes at a time each time you do a stress test. 2 minutes is the optimal time, because sometimes you could, you know, I mean, sometimes I did it 1:45, etc. But 2 minutes is really just to give it a good test, make sure that there's no problems, because obviously the temperature's going to stay up from the first 30 seconds to 45 seconds is getting your temperature up to the temp it needs to be at, and then after that it's stress testing it. So 45 seconds should be perfect. So say 1.5 to 2 minutes at least to check each of these each time on combustor. Now, memory clock is the same as the core clock. You do 50, 20 at a time, whichever. I mean, like I said, I could now push this up a tiny little bit at a time if I really wanted to, say from 160 and go to 127, if I could ever get my fingers to that. There. And then I could test that. Tick. MSI combustor. Run stress test. And you see, I think this would be fine, but I didn't want it at its maximum. I'd prefer to keep it just a bit under, because I want the graphics card, this GPU, to last as long as it possibly can. That is my main goal of this video, is to make everyone's graphics card last longer. That's it. It's as simple as that. We want our graphics cards, the most costly bit of our PCs, to last as long as possible. And especially if people are buying these new 3090s, what have you, and they cost it in for $1.5 grand, etc. I mean, nothing's cheap. You can see mine's just a 1080 Ti, and I can't afford to replace that, so yeah, I'd much rather have it keeping at a stable temperature. 69, 70, 69, 70, looking perfect. And you know, magical number 69, so we always keep that on there. But yeah, I'll let this run for 2 minutes, just so you can see. I could push it more, I'm not going to. I'm going to go back to my settings that I had previous, and I'm going to be happy with that, because I don't want it for pushing it as high as you possibly can. You'll notice as well as you're doing this, I mean, this is technically what some people are looking at. There's certain bits on this video that you will get higher frames, certain bits you'll get less, because there's more and less in the camera. I mean, you know, you can't get more frames if there's not more frames there to do it with. But yeah, hopefully this helps some people out. Like and subscribe if you do like the video, and I really do hope some people take a look at this. Just to, I mean, even if you just do the fan settings are more essential, I'd say. You don't have to overclock anything on a PC. You can run it without that, and if your PC can run the games without clocking, I'd do it. I wouldn't go through the trouble of doing all of that, because it's tedious and long. But for the doing your fans just to make your PC last longer, I think it's well worth it. And again, as I say, I'm keeping mine there. I'm happier with them settings. They're perfect for me. But that there is essential, and that start with Windows and that fan curvature, all essential. Make sure you click apply and OK when you do them. They are to make your GPU last longer. This is just to push the performance extra. Okay, I do hope this helps some people, and have a great day.